Yeah, I mean, the whole reason why I started doing improv was for that,
Hmm.
was to get better at creating characters and like think faster on my feet, and stuff like that. And uh, that was all because of a chat that I had with Crispin Freeman. I managed to take classes with him because I started listening to his podcast.
Hmm.
I had started reading Yuri Lowenthal and
Oh yeah, that book,
um,
the voice actor
yeah,
book.
yeah, the voiceover voice actor.
Hmm.
Um, and every like they all mentioned like you should take improv classes and all that stuff. And uh, uh, Crispin, when I took class with him, he kind of like gave him an aside and was like, yeah, you should definitely do improv because you get better at uh number one, when you do theater, you start getting more comfortable with the idea of like going with the flow,
Hmm.
and it eases that stress of like going into the booth and like the nerves that the pre-show jitters.
Yeah.
um so it was really like one led to the other, and then back to the start of like I wanted to be a voice actor, so how do I start training for this? And yeah, everybody just across the board was like, yeah, do improv, do improv, do improv.
Hmm.
So I was like, that's my end. That's how I start learning.
Doing voiceover stuff for my own, like for fun,
Yeah.
to try to practice, and then I
For me, it
fell in
was
love with it
remembering
more.
names
Oh
during
yeah,
scenes.
that's super hard too.
That was and it was really reassuring uh when during the quarantine I saw the Ben and Schwartz show.
Hmm.
Like the ones that they
Him
started,
and
like the live
Middleditch.
improvs that they started putting up on Netflix.
Yeah.
And Ben had the same problem. Like he just kept forgetting a name. It was like a whole scene of like him making
Yeah.
up a different name for like the character that um Josh Middleton was doing, and it was hilarious to me because I was like, oh man, yeah, that happens to me all the time too.
Yeah. Because you
Yeah,
got to be Rufy in the Riverside, which is a game that it's like an indie game that came out of nowhere, and everyone's like, "Oh, that looks cute," but then it's actually like everyone's loving it. And
yeah, and
early.
I'm so excited about that
Hmm.
because it was like for most people it came out of nowhere. I've known about this game for
Yeah.
about 7 years now, so it was like, so it's hasn't really exactly been a secret. 'Cause if you knew where to look, you would have
Yeah.
found it. Like they've been uploading stuff since like almost the start of the process. So it's super cool to like if you go back into like Socrates Labs' Instagram, you can see like super early prototypes of like how the game used to look like and what the original art style was like before they started polishing it up and all that stuff, and which is super cool. Like I'm a fucking nerd, so like I love seeing how things are made and like how they evolve along the way. So it's pretty cool that they were doing that since the start.
Yeah, as you told me about it early, so I started looking at. I think I started following them and seeing stuff, and I was like, I hope this game comes out because that
Yeah,
also happens sometimes.
yeah. It was when I think it was when I they finally gave me the okay to be like, oh yeah, you can start saying that you're voicing the character, and that's when I started, talking about it online and like to friends and stuff like that.
Hmm. And then you were friends with them already from just the internet. You became friends with them.
Yeah, so uh we Socrates and I met through Miiverse on the Wii U.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's like what? So he and I used to be super active in the Miiverse art community. So like we would draw a lot on the Wii U tablet and just post up on Miiverse, which is like for the people who don't know, Miiverse was like uh essentially Nintendo had a social media
Hmm.
attachment to the Wii U. So it was that you could like write posts or you could like make drawings and stuff like that. It wasn't supposed to be used like a full on art tool, but you know how artists are. Like we're
Yeah.
like, if you give me a cool tool, I'm gonna try to mess with it and stuff like that. So he was a really good artist in the community, and I would follow and like like all his posts, leave comments and stuff like that. There started being a trend of like doing chain artwork. So
Hmm.
like you would post the thing and then you would prompt somebody to like leave a drawing underneath, and that's kind of how we started interacting a little bit more.
Yeah.
Um and yeah, like from there a couple of years after, like Miiverse kind of died down, Nintendo shut it down, and we found each other through like our proper socials like Instagram and stuff like that. And he started seeing that I started uploading voice acting content, because that's around the time that I started really considering like going into voice acting, and I started practicing by doing impressions.
Hmm.
Uh, and I would just upload my practices up on Instagram. Like at the time, I was setting myself a challenge to do like a voice, quote unquote, a day.
Yeah.
And so I was uploading pretty much every day consistently for like about a month ish, I want to say, before I realized, and I started taking classes, and they were like, oh, maybe impressions is the way to go about this. Like, it's good practice to see where my range is at, but it's not
Hmm.
really like
Like I can
proper
create
practice.
stuff.
Right.
Hmm.
Like, I'm just doing voices that already exist, when in reality it's like you shouldn't aim to take somebody's character, right? Like
Hmm.
that's incredibly frowned upon, understandably so, right? and
Yeah.
and that was never the aim for that. It was just me practicing to like figure out my range, but then I figure out and learned better ways of doing that.
Hmm.
So then I stopped that. But he had already seen that, and in between that I started uploading like original snippets, like my takes on a certain character, or like my takes on characters that I've for stuff that I worked on. Like I used to work on a comic book series, so I uploaded one that was like how I would voice that character from that comic book. And he shot me a message, and he was like, "Hey, I'm making this game, and we're looking for a voice for the main character. Do you want to try an audition for it?" And I was like, "Yeah, dude, absolutely."
Hmm.
So I sent them a couple of takes, different variations. Um, he had sent me some of the artwork and like some of the very early animations, and I sent them different takes, and there was one that he liked, which is what ended up being in the game. Because they ended up like he showed it to the city. It was like within like immediately the next day he sent me a thing like, "Hey, I showed it to the team. We all liked it. You're the voice, and also, do you mind if we use the stuff that you already sent us?" Which completely took me by surprise. I was like, I mean, that's just an audition, right?
Yeah.
But they liked it so much that they were like, yeah, that's we want to use, we can use these. So that kind of started shaping, and then it started the process of like, me learning more about the character, and starting to shape the character to what he sounds like, and what Ruffy sounds like right now.
Hmm. Yeah, because in the game you mostly just make sounds, but then there's also the trailer. You did the
Yeah,
trailer voice, and
so
it was
that was
like,
much later on. The trailers, I recorded the first trailer about 2 years ago,
hmm.
and that was for the Future Game Show, um, which was another crazy
Yeah.
like moment in my life, because I remember how I told you that the first thing I started reading was Yuri Lowenthal and
Oh
I
yeah, they were
forget,
hosting it, and
they were
Laura
hosting it.
was hosting it.
So it was like it was Yuri and Laura Bailey, and then immediately after my voice. It's
Yeah.
like, talk about a full circle moment, and like holy crap, to like have that happen live. Well, not live because it was pre-recorded, but
Hmm.
for me,
But
like
we're all watching
seeing,
it live.
yeah, exactly. Like it hadn't really clicked up until like that moment. And I was watching it live on stream. Like I was streaming on Loot the Party, and we were covering it, and uh, it was so cool to have that moment of like, wow, like I started with you know this book, and with Critical Role was another thing that was like a
Hmm.
big spur of like, hey, I actually want to do like it's D&D with like all the voice actors that I look up to. So it was kind of funny that it ended up working out that way, where Yuri and Laura were there, and they were introducing the first game that I've ever voiced in.
Yeah.
Because up until then, I'd done voice work for, commercials and like some corporate stuff here and there, but I'd never gotten my goal, which was to be in a video
Yeah,
game.
a
Like
video
I've
game.
always wanted to do video games and animation.
Hmm.
So it was like a nice, beautiful moment of, you know, I started my journey with these people, and then I got to really start my journey with them too.
Yeah.
So it was kind of poetic and serendipitous, definitely.
Yeah. I remember that. That was super cool.
It was
Was
super
it?
humbling too, man. So
Yeah.
life is funny, man. Life is funny.
Yeah. And then did you help with anything else in the game? Were you doing localization or some other
Yeah, I did a
stuff?
little bit of localization. So the team's based in Germany, so the original script was written in German, then written in English.
Hmm.
So they had me look over some of the initial pages of dialogue, and a lot of the stuff that I did, I think is still in the game, but the game's like it's that's the funny thing because like the game story kind of evolved as it went. Like originally, I didn't even think this game was gonna have a story. I thought it was just gonna be like kind of like it's
Go
just
do a
like
things
a
and
yeah, like
thing.
drop you in the world, go have fun type
Yeah.
of game, like Mario 64, where it's like you know based on the stuff that I was asked for, which is just like jump one, jump two, jump three, like B jump,
Hmm.
like attack one, attack two. So I was like, oh, okay, so this is more likely going to be like a 3D platformer. And then also based on like the early footage that they had sent me. But then he sent me a script and he was like, hey, we need like reactions to certain moments in the story. And then that's when I was like, oh wow, like this is a lot deeper than I thought it was gonna be.
Hmm.
I started reading the script and all that. So but yeah, I helped a little bit with some of the really, really early stuff in like some of the very like starting game stuff in English.
Yeah. Yeah, because I talked to Mike Drucker about his book that he used to work at Nintendo in localization, and I guess as a copywriter that I do, they'll give me like stuff in Spanish to translate.
Yeah.
So I always thought of it like that, but it is different because you have to translate it and then you have to kind of say like, well, what are they trying to say here and put it into
Yeah.
like something that we're gonna like if there's a joke, it's not gonna translate over. You have to like
Yep. Yep.
translate the actual joke and do more work.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, like, I mean, the script was pretty solid. Like, I didn't really have to do all that much. They already had like a pretty solid base. It was more like when it came to some of the colloquial stuff,
Hmm.
like some of the sayings and all that. Like, there are sayings in German that are very literal that don't really translate all that well when you try to shift them to English.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think of like an example, but it's
Hmm.
really
Well, there's a
hard to
bunch of
come up with.
Spanish ones too that we
Yeah,
forget.
it's like like when you say certain things um like hair of the dog or stuff like that, where it's like what it means, but when you translate it, it's like how do I actually say this in a way that makes sense in a sentence?
Yeah.
If you say it in English, like yeah, to an English speaker, they'll know exactly what you're saying, or look at the Irish or stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
But if you say it to somebody from another country, they're just gonna look at you like the same thing. Like if I were to like sana curita
Yeah.
cola de rana, like you're like, heel heel frog's butt, like
Yeah.
that doesn't make any sense to you. But to us, it's like we grew up listening to that, so we're like, oh yeah, of course.
Yeah. There was a
Frog's
day
butt,
that
that's gonna heal everything up.
we started translating jokes, like just silly jokes to Spanish, and then they just didn't work.
Yeah.
Oh, so there
But
was
it was
something.
mostly stuff like that
Yeah.
I kind of helped smooth out and all that, or at least for like the early moments in the game.
Hmm. I remember when I first saw it, I was like, I feel like it broke my brain because it's a 2D little cutout character and characters in a 3D world. So it's like, I love this, but is it gonna work? And then when I
Yeah,
played it, I'm like, it really does work. It's super cool.
and I mean, it reminded me a lot of like. And it's funny because they have a reference to it. There's an Easter egg about that. But it reminded me like the first game that came to mind was Tomba for the
Mhm.
PS1, which was it was a 2D side scroller. Uh, but the enemies and the main character were like hand drawn sprites, and the backgrounds were 3D.
Mhm.
Um, so it reminded me a lot of that. And then there was another indie game that came out a little before Ruffy that was trying to remember Demon Tides, which I think they're coming out with a sequel now called Demon Turf. But Demon Tides also had that kind of like 2D, 3D, like
Yeah.
2D hand drawn sprite, not sprites because it was hand drawn artwork on 3D environments. And when I first started playing Ruffy, when they gave me like that first like super early build of the game to play through,
Mhm.
um, it hadn't really clicked on me how it would work or if it would be any like off putting, but it's not like the way they managed to like m- make it works so well that it's maybe a little jarring the first time you see it,
Yeah.
but then when you start playing it, everything just works like it should. It works exactly like a 3D
Mhm.
game should. It's got that good game feel, TM.
Yeah. And it makes the characters like stand out more on the
Yeah, because it's also
backgrounds and
like low
stuff.
poly backgrounds. Like they really wanted to lean into the classic um platformer like N64 era, PS1 era aesthetic, and I think they really nailed it. Like even the draw distance, which a lot of people have been pointing out on like reviews and stuff,
Mhm.
where it's kind of foggy and it just kind of moves along with you. Like it reminds you of like those days of like you were playing Spyro or like even like Ocarina of Time and stuff like that.
Mhm. Yeah. No, when I was thinking, there's been all these other like I guess ode to 3D platformer type games that have come out, but then they have the look and the feel, but they're really simple. But
Yeah,
this game is like takes brain power to like solve the puzzle. Like there's some puzzles that are easy and stuff, and then you're like, oh, that was easy. I'm so smart. But then there's
yeah,
some that you're like, well, you have to because there's the whole mechanic of taking the like copy and pasting the turf for
yeah.
the
And
water, and you
there
have
are
to
some that
figure
are
it
like
out.
deceptively simple,
Yeah.
and you just get stuck in this moment of like you're trying to over engineer the puzzle.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, I
And
just
because
had
it
to do
happened to
that.
me, like I was like, there was one, and I'm not gonna spoil it. But there was one that I was stuck on that I was like, what the heck am I supposed to do? Like I'm doing what I think is right, but it's because I was overthinking it. And it was
Yeah.
just like the solution was like super simple and it was like right in my face. And like I did it and I felt super smart when I did it, but then I was like, oh wait, I could have just done this from the
Yeah. It happened to
start.
me. I played Indiana Jones recently and it has a bunch of puzzles like and then one of them was like too easy. I'm like, no, it wouldn't be that. And then I went, made it super complicated and got it done. I'm like, no, I probably could have
Yeah.
done that easy thing.
But yeah, it's fun, man. Like and then there are some puzzles that yeah, I just got stuck on. So I was like, I'll just leave this one,
Yeah,
I'll come
that's what I
back to
keep
it.
doing. I need to like sit down and really pay attention and play it because I feel like I've been running around like, oh, I'm gonna try this. It's like, no, this is too hard
Yeah.
because I've been playing late at night. Not my brain's not working.
Yeah, yeah. But I like that they actually stick to their guns in the sense of like it is a 3D puzzle platformer, but it's heavier on the puzzle side.
Yeah.
Like there's at least to as far as I played, um, there hasn't really been moments of like super hard platforming because I don't think that's the goal of the game.
Hmm.
The goal of the game is like, hey, we created this copy paste system and mechanic. That's what the entirety of the game is going to revolve around, with some platforming elements here and there, like jumping and getting from point A to point B, and there are some platforming challenges in there that I found super fun.
Hmm.
But that's not like the very heart of the game. The heart of the game is the swap.
Yeah. And then there's the music. Are you part of the music? Are you singing in the song or anything or
I'm
no?
not, no. But the music in the game is surprisingly good and catchy.
It is fun.
I remember hearing the title theme, and like I guess it's kind of the main theme of the game. But I remember hearing it years ago.
Hmm.
and it's just as catchy then as it is now. Like I still like. It was funny. I was talking to a friend of mine, uh, and he was like, "Dude, like, I started playing the game, and every time, randomly throughout the day, I'll just burst out like, "Ooh,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, the music is super good, and what surprised me is like how much of it there is. I thought because it's an indie game, you know, they were on a very limited budget. Um, I didn't think that we would get as much music as we have from the game, uh, and I love that it varies from area to area.
Hmm.
Um, so it's super cool, like getting to hear all of it. I've only ever listened to like a handful of songs, like the overall theme and like some of the obviously the main theme and um one of the other areas that I'm not gonna name because that's a lot later in the game. Um, but yeah, it's just super cool to like see everything come together. Like I've been part of it. I gotta thank them a lot because they really treated me as like an integral part of the team. Like they
Hmm.
brought me into the team meetings and I got to meet a lot of the team and a lot of the people and interns that helped out on the artwork and stuff like that. Um, so it was really cool to kind of like see the development process and how they kind of like worked through things and even when they gave me like voice requests they would always like ask me for input. I'm like, you're the
Yeah,
director, bro.
that's
Like
cool.
they're like, no, but you are Ruffy. And I'm like it feels super special when Patrick tells me that.
Hmm.
And to this day like he's still like super cool and incredibly kind to, you know, like he came into my stream when I streamed the game for the very first time and hyping me up and all that stuff. So it's
That's
I
cool.
really gotta thank Patrick and everybody in the team for treating me like very much as part of the team. It felt super special.
Yeah, but that's super. That's much better than I guess if you get a thing, it's like we need these sounds. And you don't hear for
Yeah,
it for 7 years, and then it comes out. You're like, oh, that's the thing I did like
yeah,
7 years
exactly.
ago,
It's like,
and
hey,
you
we
got
need
to
to
see
read
it.
this and like, you know, we need these couple of sounds and like, all right, cool,
You got to see it
good job.
evolve.
But even after recording all this stuff, they kept, you know, they kept inviting me to the meetings and all this. I would go when I was able to and all that. So it was super cool to be part of the dev team
Hmm.
um, along the way and see it grow and see how it changed. Because I remember seeing the very first drawing of Ruffy and the very first set of animations, and then seeing the design revisions uh, and the critiques in real time. So it was super fun to be super fun, and I'm super grateful to have had that experience.
Hmm. And then since you're an artist, have as you've been working on it and stuff, have you been drawing your own roughies just for fun? Like when I played Hollow Knight, I was obsessed and I would try to draw Hollow Knight all the time at work when I was bored and stuff. But certain
Yeah.
games
No,
will do that.
I haven't yet. Which is funny. I don't think maybe I've done it once.
Hmm.
I think I may have done one Ruffy on stream once because somebody asked for it. But uh, his what's cool is that his design is so simple, but at the same time, like the way they,
Yeah, he feels like very alive too,
yeah,
but it's
um,
super simple.
it's one of those super
Hmm.
simple designs that just like stick to your memory, right?
Hmm.
But I love the fact that the newer version of him has such like different hues and tones of brown and yellow. Because the original was pretty simple, right?
Hmm.
But like I love the marker strokes, the fact that you still see the marker strokes in the texture and all that stuff is super cool, and I think it adds a lot more to the character.
Yeah. Well, something funny is the name is what's the developer's name is you said Zockrates Labs or something,
Yeah,
right?
Zocrates Labs.
So I always saw it. I didn't I always remember the Zoc and Lab, so I'd call it Zoc Labs in my head, and then when I read it,
Yeah,
I'd read it as
because
Zoc Rates, but that was his
that's their
name
online handle
back in the
is
day.
Zoc Labs. Yeah.
Yeah, but I didn't think of those like the Socrates thing.
Or
I just
actually,
thought it
it's
was
not even
Zocrates.
Socrates, it's Socrates.
It
Is
is?
the correct pronunciation, yeah.
Oh, that's what I thought it was. But then
Yeah.
I always think Zoclabs in my
For
head.
me, it's just because I associate it with like
Yeah, his
it.
old name from back in
Well,
the
no,
day.
like the philosopher
Yeah.
for whatever reason. That's the first thing that comes to mind.
Oh, well, that's
So
why
I
I
was like
thought.
Socrates, but it's not. It's Socrates.
Oh, I thought he did it on purpose, like
No,
Zocrates.
that's just me.
That's just me.
Sorry, sorry, Zocrates Labs. You guys are awesome. I'm just being dumb and saying stuff wrong.
I like it. He should keep it. Well, then I wanted to ask you next about your gaming history, like how you began with video game, like just playing them, and then
Oh,
how it grew
this
into
is where I really date myself.
an obsession.
Um,
But we're the same age-ish.
yeah, true, true. I started with the NES. Like the
Yeah, me too.
first console I ever played was the NES. Like my parents gave it to me when I was a kid. And the first games that I had was the Super Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt
Yeah, with the gun.
cartridge, and then Zelda 2,
Oh.
Adventures of Link. I played mostly Mario, and then when I first booted up Zelda, I was so lost because I did not at the time. Like I was born and raised in Puerto Rico, um, so I didn't grow up knowing. I didn't grow up learning a lot of English
Mhm.
up until that point. Like I was like maybe 3 or 4 when I got the NES, and uh, I was going into first grade, and I was like, I have no idea what to do in this Zelda game because I don't know how to read English. So, and then my family weren't really good at reading English, and my mom didn't know how to play video games. Like the only thing she would go on to, like my mom would go on to play later on was like Tetris and Bobble Bobble because they're like super simple games. And then my dad would, like he was usually at work, so he obviously couldn't help me out with, figuring out the game. So I was like, well, I guess I got to start paying attention in English classes now, and I just kind of obsessed over it. And like to this day, I still credit Zelda for the fact that like I had all these doors open up for me just because it prompted me to like learn English.
To play the
Um,
game.
yeah, like this is, which is funny to me when people say like, I think it's mostly like older generations that say like, oh, video games don't lead to anything. I'm like,
Yeah.
I mean, it led me to where I am today. So, but yeah, I mean, I started with Super Mario and then Zelda 2, and then I was a huge Turtles guy
Oh yeah.
growing up. Like, I think one of the first things I ever drew was Bugs Bunny, and then immediately after Ninja Turtles. Um, so obviously I had like the Turtles arcade game and like all
Mhm.
that stuff. And what really kind of solidified like I want to be a voice actor, or at least planted the idea of I would like to voice act was I was already familiar with voice acting through cartoons, and I would watch a lot of behind the scenes stuff.
Mhm.
Um, so I grew up with like Mel Blanc, and uh, um, it was like a huge inspiration to me as a kid because I was like, man, this one guy does the voices for
Yeah, it
like
was crazy when
pretty
I
much
found that
all the
out.
Looney Tunes, you know? So that was like, growing up with cartoons and video games was what kind of planted the idea. And then I started getting the story-based games. Like my first real hardcore story game was, I guess the first one was really Mega Man X, because there was like a thorough line story to follow.
Mhm.
But my first real story heavy game was Super Mario RPG, and then Final Fantasy VII.
Mhm.
So those two was like, and I would for those I would do the voices in my head, and for Final Fantasy VII was the first time that I was like mostly playing it home alone. Uh, so I would just start doing the voices out loud just to have fun, and you know I was in my early teens at that point, so I was starting to get the idea of like, man, this is actually really fun, and I would love to do this sometime.
Yeah.
Um, but video games, yeah, video games have been kind of like the thrust in have always been like the fuel of like, yeah, I want to do this someday for this specifically.
Hmm.
Like animation has always been like, and it's and will always be like a goal. Like I would love to do cartoons and all that stuff, but voice acting for video games specifically, I feel like is such a unique challenge because you have to do all these other like efforts and like
Yeah.
grunts and stuff like that.
There's so many things
That
that maybe certain players won't even hear
yeah,
because you have
yeah,
to do just be ready for everything.
yep, yep. And it was super fun and and it was fun and exhilarating to get the challenge to that the first thing that I would ever do was a game that has no talking. It's
Yeah.
just emotes, efforts, and like vocal effects and stuff like that. Because it's a lot harder than you realize to have to like. I have to convey this character's personality in just jump noises,
Yeah.
punches, and the occasional like laugh and cheer.
Hmm. You have to keep
Um,
it consistent
yeah,
without having much
yeah,
to
yeah.
do.
So it was a pretty unique and welcome challenge because it was like like some of the first times that we started hearing voice acting in video games were like those early platformers and stuff like that with like Crash and like um Spyro and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Were like the first times that we really started hearing like these mascots with voices. So and then obviously Mario 64 and all this stuff like had gave Mario like a much more defined personality just because you could hear him.
Yeah.
So yeah, again, it was like one of those full circle moments of like getting to start off with like what started me off in the journey.
Hmm. And then now you're doing your streaming games, which is cool. And I wanted to you to
Yeah.
show like talk about that, I guess your schedule and what you've been. I know you do some that you've been playing like old Final Fantasy and doing the voiceover with someone else.
Yeah, yeah. So I started streaming because I wanted to stream older games and like do like just use it as a vehicle of more like voice acting practice, but do it in a live setting where it's like if anybody is in the same kind of spot that I am where it's like I'm starting kind of like learning this stuff
Hmm.
uh and if anybody's in that same position then they can just kind of like come along and learn along with me, right? And like and just be like impart that knowledge.
Hmm.
So the first full playthrough that we did on my channel was Final Fantasy 9. And it's because and I got it all like the idea came from one of my buddies who did it with me, Blue Bandana Jake.
Hmm.
We did Final Fantasy 6 on his stream. And then we decided, hey, why don't we just play through the Final Fantasies that we haven't played through and then just ping pong back and forth. Like I'll do one series on your stream and then we'll do one series on my stream. So we started with Final Fantasy 6 on Jake's stream, and then we did 9 on my stream, and then we went back and did 3 on Jake's stream. Um, and I guess people started really liking it. The
Yeah.
fact that we were like voicing over and just having fun, like, because it really is like it's us ad libbing a lot too, like and improvising a lot too over the lines, and like just generally having fun and with it. Um, but then I started, both our streams started growing, and uh, I decided, well, what if for the next one that I do this for, because I was intent on like helping people learn from the
Hmm.
stuff that I'm learning and have learned in the past. I was like, well, why don't I do like make it a series, right? Where it's like voiced by the community. And we did Final Fantasy 9. Then, I took a break and started playing just stuff that I wanted to play. And then I was like, I think it's time to do another one of these, like another one of these full playthroughs. And um, a lot of people started requesting me to play Undertale.
Oh yeah.
And and do the voices for it. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna do that. But also because there's so many people interested in me playing it, and there's so many people that are like attached to these characters that I'd never played Undertale until that point. It was always in my backlog.
Mhm.
Um, so I was like, well, why don't I open it to the community to be like, well, what if you guys voice the characters that you want to voice, and then we all do it together. Um, and then we did Undertale voiced by the community, which was very much that. It was me getting to play and coach some of the members in my community and some of my friends
Mhm.
that were even remotely interested in in voice acting to give it a shot. And now there's people that like some of the people that do it are like actually like considering like, hey, I want to learn more about this. And that's always cool when you get to like bring somebody
Yeah.
into something that you do and they feel like they got something out of it, not just the enjoyment, but also they learned a lot too. So I feel like that's the way I like to learn is I like to learn by doing, and I like to learn by
Mhm.
having fun while doing it. Um, like that's just kind of like the cherry on top, right? So it was really cool that I got to get people to do that with me, and at the end of the game, at the end of the day, it made the experience of playing the game a lot better for me too because
Yeah.
like in my head now that's their voices are forever going to be those characters are forever going to be their voices. Like every time I see them, I'm going to associate my friends and like my friends with the with those voices now.
Mhm.
And it's the same thing that happened with Final Fantasy 9. uh and it happened so much so that um 9 is one of the favorite Final Fantasies in a lot of people's like tier. And when I had mentioned the fact that this all started with Final Fantasy 9, a lot of people started asking me like, "Oh, would you ever play it again?" I was like, I don't know, because like
Mhm.
we've already done it. But then enough people started asking for it that I was like, all right. So then, uh, rather than do it with like the community, I decided, well, I kind of want to tip the hat and pay respects to the people that did it with me the first time, with my friends that got me to stream in the first place. So I invited them back, and they all agreed, and now we're doing it again. We're doing what I call Final Fantasy IX Revoiced,
Mhm. Mhm.
but it's all with the same cast, the same group of friends that got me started to begin with. And it's been really cool. Like it's
Yeah.
another way of like me kind of paying respects to them and like sharing the communities. Like a lot of the people that didn't know about Jake now, it's cool. Like I'll go into his streams and like they're there. You know what I mean? So it's really
Mhm.
cool. Like be able to pay that back and pay them back for helping me get
Yeah.
started in streaming.
I feel like if, like I always thought, if I wanted to stream something, I'd have to do it with other people in the room, like we're playing something together, because it's probably hard to be, you're talking to people, but you're talking to yourself usually,
Yeah,
because no one's talking back, they're writing back, but
yeah, it
you have to keep
definitely
it going.
helps, and I feel like that's where I shine the most is like when
Hmm.
I'm bouncing off of people. Um, like I when I started doing improv, I'd always also wanted to try stand up,
Hmm.
and I quickly realized how different those skill sets are.
Yeah.
Um, and I found my strengths lie when I'm playing off of somebody else, or like even if there's something to play off of.
Hmm.
When you're playing story based games, you have the script to bounce off of, right? So you're able to poke fun at things and uh, you know just talk to and react to the things that you see. But so it's kind of like similar when you're doing improv, like you're playing off of somebody, you're playing off of that person. If somebody initiated the storyline, then now you're reacting and adapting to that story.
Hmm.
Um, so to me, it's a lot. I find like my streams are at their best and most fun when I'm playing with somebody.
Yeah.
So I usually try to have somebody on stream when I can, and if not, then then I'll just either do play something that I know that is going to be easier for me to bounce off of ideas of, or I'll do something that, you know, that I feel comfortable doing. It's very rarely that I'll have a just chatting stream, but when those happen, it's usually like we're having like a legit conversation as a community.
Hmm.
So it's still, I'm still playing off of somebody and bouncing ideas off of people.
Yeah.
Um, it helps. It helps a lot.
And then have you been doing loot of the party still, or just for like
Yeah.
co-streaming events, but
No, no,
still
no. We
an
do it steadily.
amusing?
So loot of the party is it's every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern. It is basically like our initial idea was just like me and my friend like Aburria or John Mejias. We would just usually get together on Sundays and just talk about video games and just catch up with each other. And but we always gravitated back towards video games and like what we were playing and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Uh, and we like a couple of friends started, coming in and we would like meet up with each other and stuff like that. But it was usually mostly John and me talking about that stuff, or like, we're like really we like keeping up with the industry, not just like games. Um and two of our friends were like, y'all should just do a podcast or something, because y'all know a lot about this. And it was kind of like we had that moment of like, yeah, why don't we do this? So we started doing it in my channel initially. Um, and it was again, it was like the same thing every Sunday at 6. We would get together, and I made Loot of the Party kind of like a thing within my stream.
Hmm.
And then eventually it was like there was a lot of people that were coming into my channel specifically for that. Um, and I was just always like, it seemed a little unfair to just keep it in my channel. Especially when we have people that were coming specifically for that.
Hmm.
So I talked to Alka, and we were like, well, let's just make it its own thing. Let's make it its own channel. And that way, like if we get, whatever money we get, we either invest back into the channel, or, we split up. And for now, we're still very much like using it for channel stuff. Or like giving back to the community. Like usually when we raid somebody, if it's the first time we're raiding, we'll we'll gift subs, and it's kind of like whatever subs money comes into the community goes back into the community.
Hmm.
Um, and we've been doing it like every Sunday ever since for about 3 years. Yeah, 3 years now, coming up in December. Um, so the first thing we ever did as loot of the party was the video game awards.
Hmm.
And so it's also kind of like every time like the VGAs come around, it's also our anniversary, so we usually celebrate both.
Hmm.
um but yeah, we try to do VGAs and Summer Game Fest and like all some of the bigger events we try to do live. Unfortunately, we both have day jobs, so we can't
Yeah.
cover every single event live, but we try to do our best to do that. And I think one of the things has that has set us apart in that space, and what people, or at least what people told us they enjoy, is the fact that it is very much a community conversation too. Like it's not just us
Yeah. Here's what's
relaying the
going
news.
on.
It's Yeah, it's not just us relaying news and like teaching people more about like, or not teaching, more like making people more aware of what's happening in studios. And
Hmm.
especially with the unfortunate last couple of years with all these layoffs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like it's very much calling attention to the fact like video games are made by people, and these people are affected when these shitty decisions are made from top brass. Um and But it's not just us telling you, it's also like bringing you into the conversation. Like if you're in chat, you're also a panelist basically.
Hmm.
Like you get to have a say, and you get to tell us like what it is that you want us to talk about and stuff like that. So we very much try to make it as interactive and like fun as possible. We still have fun like John and I both come from like comedy backgrounds, and uh, he used to do stand. He was really good at stand up too. Um, so we try to like joke as much as we can, and but still make sure that we're relaying info that's accurate and you know not making stuff up.
Yeah. No. But I feel like because I watch kind of funny every day, their news
and,
videos
and
or
they're a huge
podcast.
influence on us, by the way. Like, uh, I always try to make that clear. Like, our format was largely inspired by what they were doing in the pandemic times when it was just,
Yeah, when they were stuck at
everybody was
home.
in their own bedroom. Um, so they're a huge influence on us, and we're like, I'm active in the kind of funny community too. So, um, like I follow a bunch, like Andy and Snowbike Mike.
Yeah.
I'm in their chats a lot. So again, it's always making sure we pay respects to the things that help us and the people that got us started. And I always make it a point to mention them because it's true. Like, I mean, a lot of what we do is inspired by them.
hmm Yeah, but I always thought, I guess because I've always, even before I was into them, I would always check IGN and like Polygon, all the things. So I thought everyone who's like a big video game nerd was into all the news. But then
Yeah,
there's also, I have friends that are casual gamers. They're like, oh, I love this game. I'm like, oh, did you know they're making a new one? They're like, I had no idea. It's like, but
yeah,
I'm like, always, even games I don't care about. I'm like, I know this is coming out this date, and I'm still like interested, and I hope it does well, even if it's
yep,
not for me, kind of thing.
yep. No, and we always make it a point to like also mention our sources, right? Like when we read a story, if it's coming from IGN, we let, hey, this story comes from IGN. Kind of it's the same, kind of like the same thing that
Yeah, it is.
kind of funny does, where we make sure to credit our sources, and um, from our end, we don't cover a lot of rumors
hmm
unless we know the rumors have a leg to stand on. And I've done like my research. I'm like, okay, things are lining up. So like so for example, like when the Switch 2 was coming out, I did not report on rumors unless I started seeing that they came from reputable sources. Uh and even then, like we made sure to mention like, hey, take
Like this is
everything
still a rumor.
with a grain of salt
Yeah.
because this may not be true. But it does come from, when people were speculating on the fact that it was like, oh, they switched from an AMD to NVIDIA chipset. And then those rumors started getting a lot more traction and ground to stand on. Then I was like, okay, we can talk about this on the show. But again, always with the guise of like, this is a rumor. Like,
hmm
take everything you see with a grain of salt. Do not believe it unless it's coming from Nintendo themselves and stuff like that. And we always do that with uh, you know, when it comes to rumors and all that.
Yeah.
I don't want to. Loot was never meant to be the first source of news or like the first. We don't care about
No.
breaking news. We care about talking
Just
about what's
talking about it
accurate,
with people too.
and then and then have an open conversation with people about it. If
hmm
there's something that's super cool and like it's a rumor, then we'll talk about it for what it is, a rumor.
Yeah.
But we don't want to be, we don't care about being the first to break news. Like that's not what we're here for.
hmm Yeah. I feel like I used to be like, oh, this game's coming out, and they sent me a code. I have to write about it like that day. And now I'm like, you know what? I'm not. I'm one person. I can't review every game and write
Yeah, yeah,
about.
yeah,
So I'm trying to find different ways to write about games so I could do it whenever I get to it.
yeah. And we've tried to get like a couple of review codes and stuff like that. We just haven't been successful at it.
hmm
Ruffy, I think largely in part because I worked on it. We did get a review. We did a couple of review keys, and and even then, like we had the review like done before our show on Sunday, but our show's on Sunday.
hmm
People will come to see us on Sunday, so why would we do it before then? So it was the same thing of like, yeah, we've had and we're sitting on the review for like a good week before we actually got to say it. We didn't want to release it on the embargo day or whatever. Like we people tune in to see us on Sunday. They'll
Yeah.
get their news on and talk about it with us on Sunday.
Well, it's like last week tonight versus the Daily Show. Like it's a once a
Yeah,
week or every day. Like
that was
they're
that
gonna
was
get
very
to it when
much,
they get to
yeah.
it.
That was very much the initial pitch of the show is like, and still is. It's kind of like our elevator pitch. It's it's your weekly video game review show.
Hmm.
Um, and when I say review, I don't mean video game. It's like your week in review type of
Yeah.
show. It's we look back at the top stories of the week and we talk about uh the standouts of what happened in the week. It's basically if you're even if you're just now getting into video game news, or even if you just want to catch up on what's going on in video games, we're a good place to come to, especially if you're looking for it in Spanish, because we're primarily in Spanish. We're a good place to come to because that's what we're here for. It's like you've already there's a whole week in news that just happened. Come catch up with us on Sunday and have a beer while you're at it. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's that's kind of the vibe.
No. I was gonna ask you what I know the future game show moment because you were co-streaming that, right? When that happened
Yeah,
with Ruffy. Is there other big moments you can think of? I know you recently did, or you streamed Ruffy the other day.
yeah, man.
That's
Getting to
probably a
stream
big one.
Ruffy was definitely one of those big moments. I was super emotional too because it, it and a lot like people started asking me about how I got started on it and how I came up with Ruffy, and that just kind of like made me reminisce a lot of like how
Yeah.
everything got started, and it was really cool, and it was also like a very sobering moment of like I tend to be very hard on myself, and I'm very goal oriented, and it's like I want to do this and I want to do that, and I'm like, and it tends to blindside me
When you get
when
one
I'm that
done.
way because it's like there's all these things that I haven't done and I want to do
Hmm.
that it blinds me to the fact of like, man, look at all this stuff that I managed to do and everything that I've done to get here. So it was definitely one of those moments, and it hit me harder than I thought it was gonna, in a good way, right?
Hmm.
Hit me harder than I thought it was gonna hit me of like having that moment of like I got a lifelong dream. I achieved a lifelong dream of like my voice is in the credits in a video game, and it's not just in the credits of the video game. I'm the main character in
Yeah.
a video game.
Mhm.
So it's yeah, man. Like that moment at Future Game Show was like the first time that it really came to a head because it was my voice in the trailer and it was my voice in the main character, and it was introduced by two of the people that I look up to the most in the industry and the people that got me started in the industry in a way. Um, and now getting to 2 years after that, after 7 years of knowing about the project and working on the project, finally be able to like play it along with everybody else. So it was a super special moment, and I'm so glad that I got to share it with people that have supported me along the way, and um, people that came into the stream that day just to see what's up and all that. And it's still I'm very lucky to I'm very lucky to be in to have had the experiences that I've had and have met the people that have helped me along the way to get there.
Hmm.
Um, good and the bad, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, I yeah, man, it's one of the it was definitely one of the most gratifying and humbling moments in my life,
Hmm.
getting to share that and still sharing that. Like I'm still planning on playing the game through on Thursday. Usually I do Tuesday and Thursdays is when I stream. Um, and Thursdays is usually I just play whatever I want. Tuesdays is usually like my set. We're playing through this game.
Yeah.
Um, so Thursdays, yeah, Thursdays is probably gonna be a roughy day for a little bit until I beat the game.
Hmm. But then I wanted to ask you more about what's up in your life right now. Like, what games have you been playing for yourself?
Ooh, that's the juicy
Yeah.
question. I've been playing and loving the hell out of Clair Obscur Expedition 33.
Oh yeah, I need to get into that.
Definitely one of the best gaming experiences I've had in a very long while. But also making sure that I play it at my own pace.
Hmm.
Um, I haven't been rushing to beat it or anything. When I do play, I like exploring around and all that. Like I'm playing it like I would like an RPG back in the day, where it's
Yeah.
like
I
I just play at my own pace and not rushing through the game by any means. And then the other thing that I've been playing recently that I completely took me by surprise because I did not think I would like this game as much as I was Stellar Blade.
oh.
Um, and it's because it's a very different game than I thought it was going to be.
Hmm.
Like I thought it was going to be a character action game like Bayonetta or Devil May Cry, but it's a lot more like Sekiro or Bloodborne, and I that took me by surprise. Like I was like, holy crap, this is like the combat in this is super satisfying and like it feels good. Like I normally in these games I would just try to breeze by the story and like
Hmm.
not do the combat as much, but more than Final Fantasy 16, which I also like enjoyed a lot, but I never got to beat. I still haven't beaten it, and
Oh,
I
I've
still
been
get a lot
playing
of shit.
that slowly, like how you're playing
Yeah,
Clair Obscura now. Like I'll play it for a while, get to the end of a chapter, then go play some other stuff, then come back
yeah.
to it.
I still get a lot of shit for it and loot. I've like not haven't been 16, but 16 kind of like uh I love Final Fantasy 16, don't get me wrong, but it very much became it quickly became a product of its time and uh like a very much an experiment in the way like I start seeing the seams in the game after not playing it for a while,
Hmm.
and I love the combat in the game. The combat is super fun.
Yeah,
I still think it is.
and just super cinematic, which I love.
Yeah, and I love those moments, but it's the getting to those moments that I'm like, I wish there was a lot more meat here because it suffers from a lot of fetch questy
Yeah,
tropes that I do not
it's like here's a
like.
really cool story, like chapter part, and then you go to this
Yeah,
village, and it's like, can you get me some bread? Can you get me this? And then you do
yeah.
that
Or can
stuff.
you kill two, like
Yeah.
five of these things and
And then
then
it's
bring
like,
this
okay, I want to
back?
go back to the cool story stuff. But then when it
Yeah,
gets to the story, it's like very Game of Thronesy because it jumps from like this is what's going on over here in this part of the world, and
yeah. And what sucks is like a lot of the side quests in the game are the story is really good. The side quest story, like the payoff is for the side mission is really good, but the side mission feels so painfully like just like why am I doing this? That it's just it sucks because like it's getting me to the point where it's like I just want to rush and beat the story. But then at the back of my head, it's like I have that video game ADHD of like, yeah, but the side quest stories are also really good once you actually finish them.
yeah, I'm like I have to do these simple things right now. Sometimes I'm doing the side quest on the when I play on the portal,
Yeah,
like the handheld, and then when I play on like the actual story, I go to the TV.
yeah. And for me, those are like the soul crushing moments of like, and it's usually because it's like it's a super simple task,
Hmm.
but it's on the
All the way
opposite
over
side
there.
of the map, and it's like I gotta walk all the way over there, and
Yeah.
there's nothing to do from here to there because the stuff that's along the way is a lot weaker than me by now, and the combat's not as satisfying because it's weaker, and it's like I guess I'll do it because of the story.
Yeah.
Um, but it's definitely that was I realized that that's what burnt me out of that game quickly was the fact of like I gotta go all the way through this, whereas some of those side quests and side missions in Rebirth, by comparison, felt like they were an integral part of the story. So I was engaged the whole way throughout, and there was stuff to do along the way. It's like there were multiple checkpoints that kept me engaged on that particular side mission. So I think like in terms of like the mission design, Rebirth did a lot better job of like it's still command based, but also an action game. But it kept me engaged in these checkpoints that you had to hit throughout a side quest, whereas 16 didn't really do that, and to a to a major detriment. Uh,
Hmm.
I still encourage people to play 16 because the story is fantastic,
Yeah.
and I'm really close to the end, so I really have to
I
push
feel
myself
like
to
I
like
am
beat
too.
it. So I think I just have to like grit my teeth and like take an Adderall for my game ADHD, take a video game Adderall for my video game ADHD, and just be like, forget the side quest, do the story. You can do the side quest later, and just get it done. But at the same time, I'm really, really invested in Expedition 33. That game is just the closest thing to perfect, dude. Like
I have to get
the
into that at some point too.
the story is amazing. The characters are so well written. The music is phenomenal. Like it is the complete package, and came out of nowhere.
Hmm.
And uh like I remember like it was the first time I saw it, I was like, oh, this is definitely gonna be something I want to play. And I kept tabs on it,
Hmm.
and being able to play it when it released, and it being a payoff of like this is exactly what I wanted and so much more. Um yeah, man, I love that game. It is definitely, so far it's still my game of the year.
Hmm.
There's a lot of stuff that's still to come out. And stuff that's come out like Death Stranding 2 just came out
Yeah.
and I've been
I'm
hearing
playing
nothing
the
but great
first one
things.
still. I like started the first
I
one
gotta go
last
back and
month.
play the first one again.
And I'm playing that
Uh,
slowly too.
because the first one kind of wore me out after a while.
Yeah.
And again, it was like I was talking to this with a buddy of mine, June Infinite, on this past Sunday's Loot of the Party, and it's a very different experience playing Death Stranding when it came out than it is when you play it now,
Hmm.
because when the chiral network opens up, like there's so many structures now that help you because there's
Oh
so
wow.
many people that laid it out, and so it's a lot easier to get through the game now than it was playing it when it first came out, when there was nothing.
Hmm.
Everybody was building stuff, and everybody, like there was nothing to like guide you, or like there was no roads. You had to build them, or like call them from like the chiral network, and hope that somebody had built a road to where you need to go. And right now, like there's just so much content that were made by people out there that it makes the weight of what the game tried to be now so much better
Hmm.
than it was when it came out. Because when it came out, it was like very much that feeling of desolation and like isolation of like you having to like grit your teeth and walk from point A to point B. Whereas now, like there's this whole network and like all these different things that people have
Yeah.
like already laid out uh, before you, that it makes you appreciate the fact of like, oh damn, like this is really what the game was trying to get. Like the first one anyway, of like the root of like helping each other out even though we're not together.
Hmm.
But I really want to go back and finish the first game before I play the second one. So
Yeah.
I have my backlog, by ever expanding backlog,
Yeah, me too.
because there's way too many games.
Yeah, because I
Keeps
also have
growing.
one list is games I want to play or have been wanting to play, then the other list is games I have to play to write about.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And then what non-gaming stuff have you been into lately or have you done
Uh,
lately?
I just finished Andor. And was my hot take with Andor is like it is the single greatest thing Star Wars has ever done.
Oh well.
It
I'm
is
in
on
them.
par with the original trilogy,
I'm
if
on like
not.
episode 3 or something, but I really like it so far.
Oh, the first season or the second
No, the
season?
first season I watched half and then I finished it. I feel like now I'm on this weird kick where whenever the next thing's coming out, I'm like, oh, gotta finish
Mm-hmm.
that, and then I do it really fast.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So now I've watched like
So
three of the second.
I finished it not too long ago, and then now my mom's visiting for the summer,
Hmm.
so I've been kind of rewatching it. Because she likes to watch it along with me. Like she likes Star Wars stuff, but it's easy for her to get lost in because she forgets a lot
Yeah.
of the things. So she likes watching it when she's with me. So I started rewatching it, and rewatching season one after season two. Oh my god, you have so much more
Oh wow.
context for things that it's like it made me appreciate season one a lot more now. And the build up to like the big payoffs in season two, that it's like, dude, it's just the writing in that show is bloody brilliant.
Hmm.
I'm I yeah, that's been like my major obsession outside of just video games. I watched Andor and then I finished watching Delicious in Dungeon, which I enjoyed thoroughly and I highly recommend.
And did you watch Rogue One again after watching season 2 of Andor?
I
They said
haven't
it
because
would
I'm gonna
change
watch
it
them.
with your
When my
mom.
mom finishes season two, we're gonna watch Rogue One.
Hmm. Oh, did you go see Sleep Token yet, or that's later
Not
in
yet. That's gonna be on.
September or
That's
something?
my other obsession. That's since September. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been
I've
watching
been listening to
tickets
them a lot.
and I've been watching tickets in Orlando to see if it goes down, and then
It
I
only
might
goes
just
up.
buy it. And then
But yeah, I've been
last,
really into them. I just love the fact that they don't give a damn about
yeah,
genre. They're just like, we're just gonna do whatever the hell we want.
I love that, and then the whole mystery behind them is just so cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And like they have like their own lore and storylines and stuff, which is super cool too.
Mhm. What games are you looking forward to, whether it's your backlog or something coming, things coming out like soon?
Yeah, I mean, right now the biggest thing I'm looking forward to is Donkey Kong Bonanza.
Hmm.
Uh, especially after that direct.
Yeah,
Uh, it is man, that game just looks super
it looks
cool and
super
super
fun.
fun. I was already looking forward to it, but then the direct really shed a light on what the game actually is, and what I feel like it is. It's trying to be the Mario Odyssey to Donkey Kong, where it's like a celebration of everything
Hmm.
Donkey Kong. And like that little twist of having Pauline be your companion, I
Yeah,
thought was
that's
super
super cool.
cool and brilliant. And the fact that it's a very music heavy game, which to me makes perfect sense because to
Yeah, the
me, I
bongos
associate,
back in the day,
yeah, it
or
was not just the bongos, but like
the Donkey Kong
Donkey
music.
Kong Country, both one and two, two more than one, I would say. Uh, oh, I think your camera's wigging
I'm
out.
going crazy.
Yeah. But to follow it, before I lose the my string, uh, I've always associated Donkey Kong with just awesome video game music because Donkey Kong Country 2 still has, to me, one of the greatest video game soundtracks of all time. So the fact that they're using music as like the main vehicle in this new Donkey Kong game, and that there's so many callbacks and homages, both musically and like visually
Oh yeah, I'm playing
in the
like
game, is just
the
like
2D
I know I'm
parts
gonna
and
in.
the mine
Yeah,
carts and stuff look super
yeah, yeah,
cool.
yeah.
I love that.
So I'm like, yeah, this is gonna be a good time, and I'm super hyped for it. And also, I love the fact that it's super colorful. I
Hmm.
feel like video games, uh, visually have gone like very
Dark.
dull and dark, and I miss color. Um, which is how I gravitate a lot towards like platformers and like um indie games because they tend to play a lot with like brighter color palettes. Like even stuff that's meant to be dark, like Hades, has such a vibrant color palette and it looks so good and it's visually so
Yeah.
appealing. Um, and stuff like like Hyper Light Breaker and all these games have, yeah, I like vibrant and things that kind of, I guess, go against the grain of like what the norm is.
Mhm. And have you been using your Switch 2 a lot, or mostly for Mario Kart? And
It's mostly been Mario
we've
Kart,
been doing
if I'm
lots
being
of Mario
honest.
Kart.
Yeah, I play Mario Kart. I've started playing a little bit of Bravely Default Flying Fairy, like
Hmm.
the remake, the not the remake, the remaster. But I haven't really sunk my teeth into all that much. That's not really grabbed me as much as I
Hmm.
thought it would. The battle system's super fun though. I love the battle system. It's still turn based but I like the Bravely and default kind of settings of like the risk reward of like either attacking a lot and losing turns or having to defend only to take more turns later.
Hmm.
That mechanic is super fun and super fun to play around. The other one that I'm actually really looking forward to, and I'm probably gonna get this. I'm debating whether I want to get it on Switch or on PC, so I can also play it on the Steam Deck. Is Final Fantasy Tactics.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
because I'm not a real time strategy fan at all. I don't like strategy games.
Hmm.
But Tactics was the first strategy game that I played that I was like, obsessed over. And it's Tactics Advanced actually more than the original because I never bought the original. I never got to play a lot of it. But Advanced I borrowed from a friend, and I was super. It surprised me how much I actually enjoyed it.
Hmm.
Um, and the fact that there's some of the advanced stuff maybe in the newer one um, has me a lot of excited. Uh, so yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. And also the fact that it's fully voice acted and all that. And
Yeah.
Tactics storyline is so good, and I feel so relevant in today's happenings
Hmm.
that I feel like it's funny that the director for the game kind of mentioned that too. Like at the time that Tactics released, there was a lot of like economic uncertainty in Japan, and it's like we're back to that again. So it's
Hmm.
highly awkwardly appropriate that it's happening, that the game's re-releasing now. Um, but yeah, that's the other one that I'm really looking forward to. I can't remember what else is coming out this year. There's just so much
There's
stuff.
just too many
It's hard
things.
to keep
And then they
track
keep
of.
announcing stuff, and then I
Yeah,
get,
like I know Metroid Prime 4 is coming out
oh
too, and
yeah.
I'm actually really excited for that. Even though I haven't played a lot of
I
the Prime
started
series.
playing the first, well, the remake or remaster now on Switch 2 the other day.
Yeah, I have that and I haven't played
I've
it, so
had it
I'm
forever,
probably
and
gonna
I
play
started
that.
playing it when they announced Hidden Gem.
Yeah.
That's what happens. They announce
So I want
high
to
on
play at
life.
least Prime 1
Yeah.
throughout so I can get at least a ground level on the story, and then
Hmm.
I'll just read like or watch playthroughs of 2 and 3, and because I mean there's no real way of playing those anymore.
Yeah.
Um unless you have like the originals and a
The old
Wii
stuff.
or a Wii U, and I don't have either. At least not here. I still have the Wii U. I just don't have
I
it
have
here.
it still. Oh, it's right there.
Yeah. Nice. But yeah, I'm excited for Prime 4 too, and
Hmm.
I'm excited. I'm really excited for Splatoon Raiders.
Oh
I
yeah.
want to see more of that.
I want to see more Splatoon stuff. I'm wearing my Splatoon shirt right now.
Nice. I almost wore a Splatoon shirt, and then I was like, the this one was on there. I was like, I haven't worn this shirt in a while.
Do you have any other VO work coming out soon or anything you're working on that you can't talk
I
about, maybe?
do. I can talk about this because we've talked about it on stream, and
Hmm.
uh, my buddy Nate, Nate the Sound Ninja on Twitch, he recently worked on Paperclay. I had a little bit of work on Paperclay. I had like a one voice cameo. I played like a baby turtle that you meet early in the game,
Hmm.
and then Nate had me record some vocals for like a couple of the music tracks in the game. Actually, no, there was just a one track in the game. Um, so I did that, but he's also working on his own video game called Self Discovery, and I'm gonna be playing the main character in that game called Audi. Um, and I'm really looking forward to that because that uh, it is very much a speaking role. There's a lot of dialogue, and the story for that sounds really good. Um, and yeah, man, I'm really excited and looking forward to that project.
Hmm.
There's a lot of cool stuff happening with it, and it's still very much in its diapers. Um, still in pre-prod, but yeah, man. Hopefully, hopefully, work starts ramping up on that soon,
Yeah,
so we can
I feel
talk a
like,
little bit more about it because I can't talk too much about it yet.
yeah, I feel like you're gonna get a lot of good stuff, and I hope that the Ruffy team could make another game and maybe take him somewhere else and he talks more and stuff. That'd be cool.
Hopefully, man, we'll see. That would be super cool. I'm hoping the game does good, and I'm hoping people enjoy it. Because it all depends on that, right? Like playing the game, and if people like it and they want more from the team, and we'll see what happens. Like I'm hoping it does really well. First of all, because the team deserves it. They worked incredibly hard on it, and I've seen how much it's grown and how much love they poured into that for 7 years.
Mhm.
Um, and then secondly, because I would love to see what's next for them. I would love, like, even as a player, Like I would love to see what's next for them and what they do next. So
Mhm.
hopefully, man. Hopefully, and if they invite me, then yeah, I'm already saying yes. So
No, I love seeing like a lot of teams are now making a game and then pivoting to something totally different. I love like Seafood rematch now. It's so cool.
oh, rematch is
I've been
so
playing
fun,
rematch a
dude. I've been
lot.
playing the hell out of that.
It's a lot of fun.
Rematch is definitely super fun.
Hmm.
And that's another thing that I would love to do. I would love to do like I've done like esports casting in the
Oh
past.
yeah, the
I
video
would
you did
love to
was
do that
really
again.
fun.
Oh, the
I feel like
Marvel
you should do
Rivals.
more of those. The Marvel Rivals, so we could do a
Yeah,
rematch too.
yeah, what we want to do, we are gonna do more, and we are gonna do more for rematch.
Hmm.
And there's like a couple other things that me and a couple of friends have talked about doing, and that's super fun with it. But rematch, yeah, there's gonna be a lot of rematch content
Sweet.
in my socials.
Hmm. Well, um, I miss you, man.
I miss you too, dude.
I
This
hope
is
you come
awesome,
visit
bro. Like
us.
I feel like it's just catching up.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, it's been awesome, man. Thanks for having me. Thanks for like, I mean, I feel like like I said,
No,
this
it
is
was
just
super
catching
cool.
up.
I'm happy we waited. We waited for this. I mean,
Yeah,
I would have
yeah,
interviewed you 2 times if not, but
yeah. Y amigos que viven la intensidad de los rivales, bienvenidos una vez más a este encuentronazo donde vamos a las Islas Arañas en el Tokio del 2099. Vamos cruzando a través del espacio y el tiempo. Y así se van formando los equipos. Tenemos a Mr. Sazón PR con el mapache cohete. Tenemos a Nero Negron con el símbolo el símbolo de la libertad del Capitán América. Rubar Crisp ahí está con Bucky, el bucanero. A Grizzly con la mantis, la chica que todo lo cura y reparte pasto. Erus Irei se va con la chica diamante, la mami del momento. Y redondeando el equipo Trap Gears con nada más y nada menos que la más avellanuda.
Pero compañero, usted dijo que el Buki, Marco Antonio Solís, está aquí con
El
nosotros. El Buki.
El Buki. Y así empieza este partido. El Capitán América sale embalado, está buscando, no encuentra a nadie. Hay alguien atrás, tiene una magia, la chica mágica está tratando de encontrar, se mete en el cuarto, busca los hits. Ahí está Francisco Castillo en el techo disparando. Antonio Cruz está tirando ahí en el medio. La chica mágica quiere entrar, está buscando penetración, quiere, el Capitán América se la niega, no puede, decía, no crees en la magia, tienes que creer un poquito más, do you believe in magic, porque yo no. Capitán América fúrico entra, salta el escudo, no le da a nadie, hay un Loki trepado arriba. Loki es un clon, no hay nada que temer. Capitán América buscando atrás el fuero. La chica mágica nuevamente preguntando, ¿se cree Ronald McDonald? Preguntando si cree en magia. Aquí no se cree en la magia, son puros trucos, dice Capitán América denegándole la entrada. Entra la mujer invisible, no es tan invisible porque se le han dado hasta en las cucas. Hulk no puede, Hulk está entrando, puños de agua lanza el pelotudo. En la parte de atrás, la chica mágica todavía preguntando, ¿se cree David Copperfield? No le sale, no puede, está tratando de entrar, pero no le salió el truco de magia. Me acuerda cuando uno veía, ¡ey, cuidado! ¡Ojito que tenemos una falsante en el campo!
Se ve, una fanática.
Todo el mundo usando los ults. Ojo que aquí puede haber tremendo desmadre. Se va uno de los clones. Salió el legendario. Capitán América lo quiere parar. No puede frenarlo. Quiere cubrir al equipo. No puede. Se traban las palabras. No puede ni hablar ya. Se le olvidó cómo hablar. La chica maravilla se fue.
Encara el Buki.
Encarando al Buki. Grande el Buki. Libertad, señoras y señores, las tarifas nuevamente. Ya me cobraron más que la Switch 2. Antonio Veracruz no entiende que no puede pararse cerca del piso. Pues es un tipo volador, pero sigue insistiendo en quedarse en el piso. ¿Por qué lo hace? No lo sé. No le sabe. El capitán jodiéndole, hostigando la parte trasera del equipo. Se les va el healer. En efecto, se activa la libertad. Se va medio mundo aquí, señores y señores. Esto puede ser la decisiva. El capitán tiene aguantado a todos por atrás. Antonio Veracruz no aprende su puta lección. ¡Ay, que no aprendes, pelotudo! Capitán. ¿Cómo carajo ganamos esto?
Y pasamos ahora a nuestros compañeros de México. Adelante.
Sí, tremendo partido. La verdad, un ejemplo ejemplar de lo que es un buen equipo que entiende lo que es la comunicación. Un equipo que se mantuvo comunicado en todo momento. Todos se decían cuándo iban a hacer las cosas. No había nadie hablando a Sofía mientras jugaban.
Aficionados que viven la intensidad de Marvel Rivals, muchas gracias por la tremenda improvisación del equipo de los argentinos y el featuring del Buki.